We are witnessing the beginning of a new industrial revolution. For the last 60 years, we have lived in the era of general-purpose computing. We built software to run on CPUs, we followed the steady, predictable march of Moore's law, and we expected that every 18 months, things would simply get faster and cheaper. But that era has ended. The physics of the universe has caught up with the traditional way of building computers. You cannot just throw more power at a central processor and expect a miracle anymore. We have hit a wall, and that wall is made of heat, energy, and the fundamental limits of silicon. This is the iPhone moment of artificial intelligence, but the scale is infinitely larger. We are no longer just talking about a new device. We are talking about a fundamental shift in how the world operates. In the first industrial revolution, the raw materials were water and steam. We learned to turn them into mechanical power. In this new revolution, the raw materials are data and electricity, and we are turning them into the most valuable commodity in human history: intelligence. Intelligence is now being manufactured at a planetary scale. For the first time, we have a factory that produces something intangible but essential. We call these AI factories. They are the modern data centers. But here is the truth that the world is only beginning to realize. The data centers of the past were built to store files and serve web pages. They were libraries. The data centers of the future are factories. They process raw data and produce tokens of intelligence. And just like any other factory in the history of the world, they require a massive amount of energy to run. But there is a crisis. The world is looking at the power consumption of AI and getting scared. They see the gigawatts required and think we are heading toward a catastrophe. I am here to tell you that the truth is exactly the opposite. We don't have an energy problem, we have an efficiency problem, and the only way out is through accelerated computing. To understand why we need more energy, and more importantly, why we need to use it differently, we have to look at the first principles of computing. A CPU is a generalist. It's designed to do everything, which means it's not particularly great at any one thing. When you try to run a massive AI model on a CPU, you are wasting energy on a massive scale. It's like trying to move a mountain with 1,000 teaspoons. You can do it, but it will take forever, and you will burn an incredible amount of fuel. Accelerated computing using the GPU is like using a massive industrial excavator. It is specialized. It is parallel. It does the work of 10,000 CPUs while using a fraction of the energy. This is why I always say, the more you buy, the more you save. It's not just a clever phrase, it's the math of the new industrial revolution. If you can accelerate a task by 100 times, you are reducing the time the computer is running by 100 times. You are reducing the energy footprint by orders of magnitude. But even with these efficiency gains, the demand for intelligence is growing exponentially. The world wants more. Every company, every nation, every individual wants their own digital assistant, their own autonomous vehicles, their own scientific breakthroughs. This demand is why we need more energy. We are at the point where intelligence is the new electricity. You cannot have a modern civilization without it, but we cannot continue to rely on the old grid and the old ways of thinking. At NVIDIA, we have spent 30 years preparing for this moment, though we didn't always know it. Our journey has been defined by the pursuit of impossible problems that nobody else wanted to touch. We chose the path of accelerated computing when it was considered a niche for gamers. We were told that general-purpose computing would always be enough. We were told that the GPU was just a toy. But we stayed the course because the first principles told us we were right. We knew that the volume of data in the world would eventually exceed the capacity of the CPU to process it. That journey involved a lot of pain. People see our success today, but they don't see the decades of being 30 days from bankruptcy. They don't see the moments when our stock price dropped by 80% because we were betting on a future that no one else believed in. I remember the Riva 128 era when we were literally weeks away from going out of business. We had failed with our first architecture, and we had one last shot. I had to go to our partners and show extreme humility. I had to admit our mistakes and ask for a miracle. That experience forged our character. It taught us that resilience is more important than intelligence. It taught us that you have to be willing to suffer for your vision. That resilience is what we are applying to the energy challenge today. We are not just building chips, we are building the entire stack. We are rethinking the data center from the cooling systems to the power delivery to the networking. With our Blackwell architecture, we have achieved a level of efficiency that was thought to be impossible just 2 years ago. We can now train models that are 25 times more energy efficient than the previous generation. But we aren't stopping there. We are looking at the direct integration of energy and compute. We are looking at a world where the AI factory is co-located with clean baseload power, like small modular reactors. This is the full stack vision. You cannot solve the energy crisis of AI by just making the transistor smaller. You have to change how the data moves. You have to change how the cooling works. You have to move to liquid cooling, which we have pioneered at scale. Liquid cooling allows us to pack more compute into a smaller space, reducing the energy overhead of the facility itself. It's about the total cost of ownership, but more importantly, it's about the total energy of intelligence. We have to build things that didn't exist before. The work of our lives is to create the tools that will allow humanity to solve the problems we've never been able to solve. We need this intelligence to discover the next generation of carbon capture materials. We need it to simulate the entire Earth's climate to predict disasters. We need it to unlock the secrets of fusion energy. Ironically, we need the massive compute of today to discover the clean, infinite energy of tomorrow. This is the longitudinal strategy. We are playing the long game. This kind of innovation only happens when you have a specific kind of company culture. I often talk about our flat structure. I don't have a hierarchy of vice presidents and middle managers who filter information. I have 50 direct reports. Why? Because I want to be in the trenches. I want to know where the friction is. I want to hear the truth from the engineers who are actually fighting the laws of physics. In a flat organization, information flows at the speed of light. If we have an energy problem in our networking stack, I want to know about it today, not 3 months from now in a status report. Transparency is the only way to move with the urgency that this moment requires. We must run, don't walk, because the window of opportunity for this new industrial revolution is open, but it won't stay open forever. The nations and companies that realize the truth about the AI factory will lead the next century. The ones that try to cling to the old general purpose models will be left behind. Sovereign AI, the idea that every nation must have its own intelligence manufactured on its own soil with its own energy, is a matter of national security and economic prosperity. If you don't own your own intelligence, you are outsourcing your future. But to own your intelligence, you must have an energy strategy. You cannot have one without the other. This is why we are working with energy companies, with utilities, and with governments all over the world. We are showing them that the AI factory is not a drain on the grid. It is an anchor for the new energy economy. It provides a constant, predictable demand that can justify the investment in new, clean power plants. It is the catalyst for the modernization of our entire electrical infrastructure. We are choosing the hard path because the hard path is the only one that leads to a breakthrough. I have always told students that I wish them great doses of pain and suffering. I say that because I want them to be resilient. I want them to have the character to face an impossible problem, like the energy wall, and not blink. At NVIDIA, we thrive in that pain. We love the problems that everyone else says are too hard, because we know that on the other side of that struggle is a world that looks fundamentally different. The truth about the data center is that it is the most important machine we have ever built. It is the engine of human progress. And yes, it needs more energy, but it is energy that is being used to create something that has never been possible before. We are converting electricity into insights. We are converting data into cures for cancer. We are converting heat into the solutions for climate change. This is the greatest trade-off in history. When you look at our Blackwell chip, you are not just looking at silicon. You are looking at the culmination of 30 years of suffering and innovation. You are looking at a machine that was built with first principles in mind. It is designed to be the most energy-efficient processor ever created, specifically for the task of manufacturing intelligence. We didn't wait for the world to ask for it. We built it because the physics told us we had to. We were willing to be misunderstood for a long time. That willingness to be misunderstood is a superpower. If you are doing something that everyone agrees with, you are already too late. You are not innovating, you are following. To lead, you have to be willing to stand alone on the mountain for a while. You have to be willing to tell the world that the energy crisis they see is actually an opportunity to rebuild our civilization on a foundation of accelerated intelligence. We are no longer just building tools, we are building the infrastructure of civilization itself. This brings us to the core truth about energy. Energy, it is not a commodity to be hoarded, but a catalyst to be unleashed. For decades, we viewed energy as a cost center, a line item on a balance sheet that we had to minimize. But in the era of manufactured intelligence, energy is the primary ingredient of innovation. If you want to solve the world's most complex problems, climate change, drug discovery, sustainable energy, you need more intelligence. And because intelligence is now manufactured by computers, you need more electricity. But here's the paradox. The only way to satisfy this massive demand for energy is to use the very intelligence we are creating to discover new, cleaner, and more abundant ways to produce it. We are moving into a period where the AI factory and the power plant become a single symbiotic organism. In the past, we built data centers wherever we could find a cool climate or cheap real estate, and we piped the power in from hundreds of miles away. That is a 20th century model. It is inefficient. It wastes energy in transmission. It places a burden on a grid that was never designed for this kind of load. The 21st century model is different. We are going to build AI factories directly at the source of power. We are going to see massive Blackwell clusters co-located with hydroelectric dams, with wind farms, and most importantly, with the next generation of nuclear energy. Think about the physics of a small modular reactor. It is a factory-built, standardized, incredibly safe source of carbon-free baseload power. It doesn't fluctuate with the weather. It doesn't require a massive footprint. It is the perfect partner for an AI factory. You create a closed loop where the energy produced by the reactor is converted directly into tokens of intelligence. And because these AI factories are so efficient, because they are built on the principles of accelerated computing, every watt of that nuclear power is amplified. We are no longer just spending electricity, we are investing it into the collective brain of humanity. This is the only way forward. If we try to power the future of AI using the general purpose computing models of the past, we will fail. The math simply doesn't work. A CPU-based data center trying to run a trillion parameter model is a thermal disaster. It is a black hole for energy. But when you move to the Blackwell architecture, when you move to a liquid-cooled, end-to-end accelerated stack, you change the fundamental economics of the problem. You prove that sustainability and progress are not enemies. They are two sides of the same coin. The more we accelerate, the less energy we waste. But to lead this transition, you have to be willing to do the hard work that nobody else wants to do. You have to be willing to rethink the entire infrastructure of civilization. At NVIDIA, we don't just design the chip, we design the heat exchangers. We design the high-speed networking cables. We design the liquid cooling manifolds that allow a single rack to process more data than 1,000 servers from 5 years ago. This is full-stack engineering, and it is a painful, grueling process. It involves thousands of failures. It involves prototypes that melt. It involves nights where you wonder if you finally reach the limit of what physics allows. But we don't stop. We run. We run because we know that if we don't solve this, nobody will. We seek out the impossible work because the impossible work is the only work that matters. If we can solve the energy to intelligence conversion, we unlock a future of infinite possibility. We create a world where every child has a tutor that knows everything, where every doctor has an assistant that has read every medical paper ever written, and where every engineer can simulate a new bridge or a new airplane in a virtual world before a single piece of steel is cut. This level of progress requires a certain kind of character. It requires the resilience to stay in the game when the world tells you that you are consuming too much or moving too fast. I have been told that for 30 years. I was told that when we were 30 days from bankruptcy. I was told that when we spent billions on CUDA. I was told that when we bet the entire company on deep learning. Each time the skeptics were looking at the present while we were looking at the first principles of the future. Character is built through that kind of adversity. I tell our engineers all the time, I hope your work is hard. I hope you face problems that make you want to quit, because that is the only way you will develop the grit necessary to build the things that don't exist yet. Success is a terrible teacher. It makes you soft. It makes you think you are always right. Failure, on the other hand, is a gift. It strips away the ego and leaves you with the truth. It forces you to go back to the physics of the problem and start over. NVIDIA is a learning machine. We are a flat organization where the only thing that matters is the truth. I don't care about titles. I don't care about seniority. I care about the optimization of the token. I care about the energy efficiency of the interconnect. And because we have eliminated the layers of middle management, we can move with a sense of urgency that our competitors find terrifying. We are a company of hunters. We are always running. We are always 30 days from the end, which means we are always at the peak of our innovation. In 2026, the world will look at these AI factories and they will see the foundation of a new global economy. They will see that sovereign AI is not just about data, it is about energy independence. Every nation will realize that they must produce their own intelligence using their own natural resources. They will build their own nuclear-powered AI factories. They will create their own digital workforce. This is the path to a world where productivity is no longer limited by human population, but by our collective imagination and our ability to build the machines that manufacture thought. The truth about data centers is that they are the most important factories in the world. They are the crucibles where the future is being forged. And yes, they need more energy. They need it because we have a moral obligation to solve the problems that have plagued humanity for centuries. We need more intelligence to cure Alzheimer's. We need more intelligence to provide clean water to every person on Earth. We need more intelligence to reach the stars. And if we have to rebuild the entire energy infrastructure of the planet to provide that intelligence, then that is exactly what we will do. We are not just a technology company, we are the architects of the next stage of human evolution. This is the work of our lives. It is a work that requires extreme humility because we are standing on the shoulders of giants, but it also requires extreme audacity because we are attempting things that were thought to be impossible just yesterday. I want you to look at your own lives and your own companies. Are you running or are you walking? Are you looking for the easy road or are you looking for the road that is paved with pain and suffering? Because I can promise you, the hard road is the only one that leads somewhere worth going. Don't be afraid of the energy wall. Don't be afraid of the complexity. Embrace the struggle. Find the impossible problem in your industry and own it. Become an expert at failing until you find the one way that works. We are building the future right now. It isn't a distant dream. It is happening in our labs, in our simulations, and in the AI factories that are being spun up as we speak. We have the Blackwell architecture. We have the liquid-cooled systems. We have the networking. And we have the vision to connect it all to a clean nuclear future. The tools are ready. The platform is here. Now, we need you to build the agents and the applications that will change the world. The era of general-purpose computing is a memory. The era of the CPU is over. We have entered the era of the AI factory, the era of manufactured intelligence, and the era of the nuclear-powered future. This is the most exciting time to be alive, and it is the most important time to be a builder. The future is not something we wait for. It is something we forge. It is something we run toward with everything we have. Before I leave you today, I want to thank you for being a part of this community. We are building the most important technology in history, and we cannot do it alone. If you are ready to run, don't walk toward this future, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. It helps us find more visionaries who are ready to do the hard work. And please leave your questions in the comments below. I, Jensen, want to know what you think about the energy to intelligence transition. I want to know what impossible problems you are tackling. I will be reading your comments and I will respond to them as fast as I can. Let's build this future together. The logic of our mission is irrefutable. The physics of our reality is absolute. The demand for intelligence is infinite. Therefore, we must rebuild the world's computing and energy infrastructure from the ground up. There is no other way. Now let's go to work. Run, don't walk. Thank you.